Listen up, healthcare workers. It's Arlene Smith, and today we're going to talk all about how you can learn how to lead with the spirit of love in your heart. And you know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You have a superpower. Your superpower is that you get to heal people. You do that every single day in every interaction, in your deeds, in your words, in your actions, in all of it. It's the how you're navigating through the day-to-day, and you have that superpower gift where you are bringing healing to the people that you serve. But first, I want you to think about how we have to, when we're navigating here in life school, awaken our mind and our hearts to this concept. What if, regardless of what was happening around you, that you were able to take that superpower and train your mind and train your heart to respond in love instead? I mean, how could that change and affect the way you deliver care? And how would that change and affect the way people receive care? I mean, I don't want to say anything, but I'm just going to say right now that I think that would be a game changer. I think it would change everything for healthcare. So I want you to start there first. I want you to really think about, what if I was that person that I learned how to train my mind and my brain over and over again, that regardless of what was going to happen to me, I was going to respond with a spirit of love instead of a spirit that is not of love, right? And so we know the difference. So in our podcast today, I was inspired by this work that I had purchased this book, I swear, over a year ago. I'm still getting through it. I'm not going to lie to you. It is not very easy to navigate, but I do love the essence of it, and I was drawn to the messages in it. So this is a book called A Course in Miracles, and it was written by two psychologists, and I absolutely love this story. So the two psychologists who worked, they were both professors in medical psychology at Columbia University, the College of Surgeons and or Physicians and Surgeons. And the two psychologists, the first one was Helen Schumann. I think it's Schumann is the way it's pronounced. And the second one is William Thetford. And I love the stories in this book, because when it starts out by sort of narrating this idea that these were two people that worked together in the same sort of academic environment, but they had a very different type of relationship. It was a little bit strained, and there was a little bit of conflict there and a little bit of, struggles between the two of them. And Helen sort of had this predicament where she felt this overwhelming sense. And in the book, she talks about what this inner voice was that kept communicating through to her. And it kept saying to her, take notes, take notes, take notes. And she was really struggling with the idea of, like, what is this voice that I keep hearing in my this soft, silent little voice, and it's reminding me to take notes. And so William said to her one day, well, just take notes. And so the book was sort of formed. And I'm going to be the first to say that, this book has been purchased by so many people and read by so many people, and it's interesting because it comes as a text and a like sort of a text portion. Then there's a workbook for students, and then there's a workbook for teachers. And of course, like me, I went right straight through to the teacher part because I was like, let me see if I can learn some of this, and I had to backpedal back and go back to the text. So it's interchangeable, and I think that's what makes it a little bit challenging. There's no one way to go through the book. But what I love in this introduction is the idea of how can we begin to see miracles in the work that we do. And remember, you're working in healthcare. And so what you're doing in healthcare is you are seeing miracles every single day. But if you are that type of healthcare worker where you want to consistently see lots and lots more miracles, you don't want to just see them occasionally or here and there, you want to really have that be the fuel that pushes you forward, then I would challenge you, take a look at this book. It's really, really insightful. So I want to go right to the introduction because I think it's just so fascinating to me. And it says in the book, on the introduction, it says, this course does not aim to teach the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. Think about that. I mean, that's really profound when you really think about it. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. And they say in this introduction, the opposite of love is fear, but what is all encompassing can have no opposite. And I think that is so profound, right? So here, if you think about it, right, we have this concept of love, right, and feelings of love. And the opposite of that is anything based in fear, right? And if you think about fear and you think about all of those things that could lead to fear, right, it's very simple. There's all different types of emotions that we feel every single day. And when you're navigating in healthcare, like at this Mach speed of like 1,000,000 miles a minute, you get it. You know, sometimes we're just not even realizing like how we're feeling things or what we're feeling. We're just navigating through, trying to do the best work that we can possibly do. And what I'm trying to teach you here in this course today and this podcast is really to slow down your pace a little bit and really think about this from a different perspective. The what if. Like, what if instead, before I jumped out of bed and went about my day, right, I built it into my daily habit and my daily routine to like sit in quiet, to like resist that temptation, that urge to go, 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 right? Because that's the world we live in. And that's how we all feel that every single day. But instead, I spent and dedicated that time to sitting in quiet. Now, I do this every day. It's a daily routine. For me, it just starts with like sitting in quiet for a few minutes, offering up gratitude, right? And absolutely, I open up my Bible app and I read a scripture and I really just sit in quiet and just think about that. Like think about that message for the day and how I can manifest things differently. But if you're not spiritual, that's okay too, right? It could just be sitting in quiet and allowing yourself just to slow down your pace just ever so slightly so that you can then find a place where you're sitting in quiet, just like Helen did, to receive like some guided messages through your intuition, right? And I'm going to tell you, there's really incredible power in this. If you can do this, if you can master it. Now, listen, I am a convert because I will tell you, I still giggle about this. My really great friend, Mary Tellis-Nyack, had a conversation with me. And when she was trying to teach me this, how to meditate and sit in quiet, I was like, Mary, my brain doesn't work like that. I can't do that. And she laughed at me and said, you silly little girl. Everybody can do things through practice, right? So just like start in small little increments and like, I'm not going to lie to you. It was like 10 times that I did this. And then I just sort of like connected and then just started to see things in a different space. And what I really love about that quiet reflection every single day, now you could do this in the mornings. I prefer the mornings and I prefer in the evenings. It's like opens up my day and centers me. Again, it's that placeholder for just sort of creating that space where you're like relaxed and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I'm thinking consciously about the things that are happening to me throughout the day. You'll notice things differently in your environment. I'm on the days where I start off and I do that and I do it really well. I notice simple things like, birds chirping or like little, bugs on the ground, things that I would just normally rush past and I never would spot, right? So again, it's really setting yourself into that space. So why am I encouraging you to do this and trying to teach you to like start your day off and really start off reflecting and doing it in the right way? Because you work in healthcare, right? If you haven't figured it out, it's like chaotic, it's unpredictable, right? There's this feeling as if things are moving at such a fast pace, right? There's never enough staff, there's never enough people and resources to be able to do it to the level we all were trained to do it, right? That we desire and we want to do it so badly too, right? That's really where the struggle is. And I'm going to remind you that if you really think about this, if you think about what puts us in a position sometimes to prevent us to get to greatness with the patients that we provide care to, I would say it starts at the root of a need for controlling of things, right? Like really, really think about it. Like that's why I'm trying to drive you to like be slow in your start, right, to the day, right? And think about it and build it into your schedule, right? Because once you can get to that point where you recognize that healthcare is not something you are ever really going to control. Yes, you can navigate through your training and be able to do things with ease and to be able to respond. But again, I'm going to remind you, you are taking care of human beings that are sick, they're not well, and they're never at their personal best. And by nature of that energy that those people are feeling, right? Those critical situations that you're being faced with, those conversations that are just replaying over and over in your brain, the chaotic environment that you're exposed to. I'm going to ask you to ask yourself, like, how many times am I feeling stress as a result of that environment? And that stress is coming from my need to want to control what is happening around me and that I can't control it, right? And the danger in all of this, really the danger as trained healthcare professionals, is that we have to remember when we're not in control of our emotions, when we allow that stress to carry over into our spirits, again, all of those emotions, those feelings that are not loving feelings, right? Those feelings of frustration, right? That we're frustrated maybe with that person that we're providing care with, or they're frustrated with us and the way we're providing that care, right? Or a family has just offloaded all of their anger and frustration onto you, right? Or a coworker who's kind of annoyed at you, or you're thinking as if, why is that person getting on my nerves or triggering me? I'm going to remind you, all of this affects your spirit. It affects the way you navigate here in life school and the way you are providing care to the people that you serve. So if you want to be the greatest caregiver and you want to continue to achieve mastery in your role and you want to be the best version of you, and God darn it, you deserve it because you worked really hard to get there, right? Like, you deserve to be able to have that ability. And if you're going to do that, it means that you have to recognize that all this stuff that's happening around you is going to affect your spirit every single day. So none of us escapes it. And the only way that I have found that I can navigate through that and to teach it as an educator and to teach it to healthcare workers is really just to teach people to start your day off in that slow, steady pace, right? End your day in that slow, steady pace. Now, listen, I know what it's like to have kids and a family and like lots of responsibility. You're running here, running to dance, running to baseball games, running to all these different events. And I totally understand that sometimes we don't have the time to be able to do this. Listen, you have the time to do 5 minutes of this every single day. If it's just 5 minutes a day, that's your commitment to yourself. Because I'm going to remind you, the second most important thing that you have to remember is that people that come to you, right, and they need your services, they need help, right? They're coming to you, and it's not like they're coming to the spa or on vacation where they're like, woo, I'm putting my feet back and I'm having a grand old time. No, they're coming to you. They're coming to you with pain, burden, struggle, lots of things that are on their mind that they have absolutely no control of. And then they're coming to the system of healthcare, right? You're seeing the connection, right? I don't have control. You don't have control, right? And when we don't have control, when our patients don't have control, when the people that we serve don't have control, right? There's this overwhelming feeling of, we start to see those emotions that are those non-loving ones come out, right? Frustration, anger, people getting annoyed. It just happens. We're human beings, right? So I want you to keep this concept in the top of your mind. And I know when I'm ever trying to learn something new and really build it into my everyday habit and routine, the way I educate on this is I say, I want you to think about this like the nose on your face. right? When you look in the mirror at yourself every morning, it's like you can see the nose. And boy, by the way, as we get older, we're sort of like, oh my God, my nose is getting bigger, right? Right? Absolutely, right? Everything changes. But I want you to really look at it as the nose on your face. You know that you have a nose, right? It's like you see it. And so that's how you have to train your brain. You have to train your brain to really look at every single situation that happens to you, and pause and slow down, right? And slow down that pace for just a minute and think about the source of what's coming at you, right? And again, I'm going to remind you, is it a feeling of love or is it a feeling that needs love, right? Which one is it? And if the source is one that isn't of love, then I'm going to tell you, just like in the book, The Course in Miracles, right? It is coming from a place of fear. And then I want you to think about, how does that get manifested if you're not in tune with your emotions, right? If you're not even realizing, it's so quick and fast that it comes through so accurately, like that anger, that frustration, that, how people are reacting to you, right? Because maybe they're in pain, maybe they're frustrated, maybe they don't have control over this situation. They're thinking about all the bills they have to pay and all the missed time they're going to have from their work or their families or their responsibilities. You get what I'm saying, right? Like, it's all stacked on. And so when we take that important step, like that third step of like building in that recognition, like nose on our face, pausing, breathing, really trying to reframe things. And when I say reframe things, what I'm really simply saying is, again, if someone's coming at me with those emotions that are not loving ones, that I'm pausing and I'm reframing it. And instead of me going to a place of reacting, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to respond, but I'm going to be responding in a way that's just slightly different. My response is going to be one that is full of love, right? It's going to be a loving response, not one of those with those emotions based on fear, right? And so that is so, so important. And it's so important to do, because if you don't do this, you run the risk that all of that energy that's coming at you is going to get stuck as a loop in your brain. And I really love this in the book. There's a lesson for the students, and I wanted to talk about it because it's simply called Lesson 8, and it's called My Mind is Preoccupied with Past Thoughts. And I really find this fascinating, because this idea that if we're not in the present moment, like we're not training our mind to really look forward and ooze out that spirit of love, right? The risk that we run is that we're thinking about all the past experiences and we're replaying it over and over again, right? And so in the book, it says here, if we see only our thoughts that are projected outward, right? When we're in this state, our mind's preoccupation with the past is the cause of the misconception about time from which you're seeing suffers. And your mind cannot grasp the present, which is the only time there is. If, therefore, we cannot understand time, and we cannot, in fact, understand anything, and we have to begin by training our mind to recognize when it is not really thinking at all. So again, that's that ability to be present, right? And I love in the book, they have this little simple exercise you can do. It's literally just asking yourself this question: I seem to be thinking about, and then fill in the blank, right? And I love that, because if you're thinking about the things that happened over and over and, oh, I wish I would have handled that differently, and right, then you can't be in a spirit of love, and you can't be present with people, and you can't sit in a place of empathy and provide the greatest care that you were destined to do. It's not possible, because your brain is stuck in the past, thinking about all those things that are happening, right? And so it reminds me of this story when I worked as an oncology nurse. I still think about this situation. It's like the image comes really fast and rapid back into my memory because it was so impactful. And I was taking care of a man. He was in his mid-30s. And I want to say this man had suffered from a childhood leukemia, and he was in remission for so long, and his family was so happy and so thankful. And then he sort of had this remission, and he was coming to the end stage of his life. And in providing in his care, I remember his name was Stephen, and I remember getting a report from the nurse prior, and her saying that, like, listen, the family is really having a rough go with Stephen, at this stage of the dying process. They're still in denial. They're still wanting to fight, right? And they're not going to want pain medications because, the pain medications, they keep saying, sedates him and prevents them from like having more time with him, right? And I remember going into the room and greeting the family, and I remember greeting my patient and just asking him how he was feeling and offering a drink of water and asking him if he was having any pain. And he nodded his head, and I said, Stephen, can I get you something for your pain? And he said yes. And I went out to go get a prescription, fill his give him his medication, his pain medication. I could feel somebody like literally on the backs of my back, like walking the same pace as I was, marching like right behind me. And as soon as I exited that room, I was greeted by Stephen's sister, and she had her finger in her hand, and she was yelling at me, and she was really angry because I had offered to give Stephen pain medication. And she was like, we told the nurses, right? Like, we don't keep giving our brother pain medication. And I just had to sit and listen, right? And I remember just this person being like right in my face, in my personal space, which again, if you're in healthcare, you get this, right? Your intentions are really good. You're there for your patients, right? But remember, we're providing care to families as well, right? And they're an extension of that patient. They just love their family member so much. If they could get rid of their suffering tomorrow, they would do it. They would give their life probably for the person that they love so much. So once we put that in that right mindset, we can really truly see it and understand it. And in this instance, I had to like sit and listen. And in that moment, that's where my like training kicked in as a nurse, right? Like the importance of therapeutic communication, just sitting in empathy, like listening to somebody and letting somebody like get it out of their system. But like this version of me in the present, looking back at that experience, I understand like nobody taught me what to do with that situation when it happened. And how do I make myself not feel like a whipping post where I'm replaying that scenario, I don't know, 17,000 times over the past 20 some years of just thinking about how could I have responded or handled that differently? And what I'm here to remind you about is, again, the incredible power of sending out signals of love to people when they are experiencing tremendous pain, when they are experiencing suffering, when things are not going well. That really is your superpower. There is nothing else in your toolbox that's going to give you just this incredible ability to just slice through whatever pain that person is experiencing, because that is what you're going to be trained to do. And you're going to learn how to do it through practice and doing it over and over and over again. So, I always think about how do we reframe things out and how do we think about those things. And you will always hear me say and educate, it is a conscious choice that you make. Again, in that book, A Course in Miracles, if we're like living in the past moments and that's what we're allowing into our brains all the time, that's all we're going to see, right? But how are we going to get there to that future moment where we're like experiencing the beauty and the joy and everything that's around us in the world? It really is going to be, we start off the day in that quiet, slow meditation, right? It helps us center, right? We start sending love through our body, right? And saying those affirmations that are going to make you just feel better, make you feel like you can hit the day and hit it hard. And then when things happen, we respond in a way where we are training our brains to go to a place of love. And then in the aftermath, and we're letting go of those things that don't serve us anymore. I think of my really good friend, Jean Krautzel. She and I get to work together and do great work on dementia education. And I can't take credit for this, but when Jean and I have worked together, she has taught me like how many times she has integrated this into caregiver training, like this concept of so what when you're taking care of someone with dementia or cognitive impairments, right? If a dementia patient wants to do something and you're trying to control that situation, so what? Let them do it. Like, what are you fighting against? What are you trying to do? And I have used this principle that Jean shared with me in education with everybody in healthcare, because again, we have to really look at it from a different lens. So what? So that situation happened with Stephen's sister, right? She screamed at you, right? Or a family member, right? It was annoyed with you, or a patient was. You're sending out love, and again, so what? I'm going to let it go, right? I'm going to let it go. Again, that's a mindset. You've got to get into a habit and a routine where you just train your brain to like get there. And that's what's going to help you sort of transition and push forward to this place of like, instead of sitting in those pits of despair, as I like to call it, like that's where that negative energy all sits, the bad stuff that happens to us every single day when we're going about our workday, providing care to people who are sick and not well, right? Like if we're not careful, if we're not tuned in, you're gonna be stuck in that pit of despair, and that's where you're gonna sit for a long time. So that pit of despair, what does it look like? Well, I would ask you, how does it manifest in your life? Like, the feelings of when things don't go the way you want them to go, because again, we're trying as humans to control every single thing. And the reality is you're not going to control much of anything. I mean, look at our world. Look at what's happening around us. People are losing it all the time over things that you cannot control, right? And I'm not saying that those feelings that they have aren't important. Of course they are, right? What I'm saying is leverage it from the perspective of what is within your control here. And the things that aren't within your control and you can't do anything about, so what? You let it go, right? You just let it go. And I will tell you, I feel like when you can get there, you're going to see things very differently. And you're going to come to this realization that as human beings, we're all interconnected. Like our energy just passes between us. And you know this, right? Because I've taken care of thousands of patients over the course of my nursing career. And in the very beginning stages, nobody taught me like how to block some of that energy that was coming at me. And instead, it would hit me like a ton of bricks. And then what did I do? I responded back the same way. And that happens to all of us because we're human beings, right? We are human beings that, we are full of emotions and we respond. We should be responding to things instead of reacting. I mean, that's as simple as it should be. It reminds me of my husband. He says to me all the time, like, listen, don't come down here like when I'm first waking up in the morning with this big list of things like we got to do this, and hit me with like 20 things. Like I'm just trying to wake up and just like get myself together, right? And I always remind myself, yes, you're right. Like I got to slow down my pace sometimes, right? And again, I've got to look at the way I do things. And if I do it from a spirit of love and I do it from that place of slowing things down, it's absolutely. So the key is to always go back, right? And think about like, how am I manifesting those feelings, those loving, kind acts and responses, even when someone is not kind and loving to you, which is the greatest work that you can achieve here in life school, is to get yourself to that point where that's what you're doing. Doesn't matter. So what? So somebody wants to have a miserable day and they're angry and frustrated. So what? It doesn't bother me, right? I'm just going to let it go. And I'm going to move forward and I'm going to still send light and love into this world because I'm a healer. That's my superpower. I'm here to heal people and I want to spread that message so that people have that same hope. And once you train your mind to do this over and over and over again, you're going to get to that place where you're going to feel better every single day because it's not going to matter what's going to happen to you. Like you're going to let the day go and you're going to find your place to find that quiet reflection, and you're going to find that time to find self-care, whether it's 5 minutes a day. BTW for me, my journey has to be, I have to start by going to the gym every morning. It works for me. I hate it because I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning to get there by 5. But if I do it and I put that time in for self-care in the morning and I have that quiet time, boy, do I can hit anything in the day. All the little boulders along the way just seem like tiny little pieces of gravel, because it doesn't activate me a certain way because I've gotten the things done in my day that I needed to do. So nothing's going to stop you if you do the same thing. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to feel better about the work you do. Why? Because you're in this field for a reason. Like, you were designed to do this. This is part of your DNA. This is who you are. And so embrace it, right? Send love and light out into the world, regardless of what happens to you. And take that time out in the beginning of your day and the end of your day to sit in silence so you can start seeing the miracles around you. And trust me when I tell you, you will see so many miracles when you do this combination of the morning, quiet, afternoon, end of day, whatever it is, and you send love out into the world. Boy, is it going to open up things for you that you're never going to possibly imagine. Listen, I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I hope you join me on a future podcast. And if you don't hear it enough, I can't say it enough. Thank you for everything you do every single day, because the work you do is soul-filling, purposeful work and has meaning, and you're doing it and you're continuing to do it. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.